Hello, my name is Caitlin Donkey, or I go by Katie. This is, I believe, the fifth progress update for this Udemy course in CSE 322, or mobile application. So, just for an overview, I'm going to go over the completion markers in the Udemy course itself, which is on the screen right now, and then we'll go to a brief demo and just look at the app itself so far, and then we're going to hit a code overview at the end. So, to start with the Udemy, the section was on the expense tracker app. My markers go up to 120, or lecture 120. Just show those that did complete the videos. Okay. And now for the app itself. Let's start the code. Another window. I usually run it without debugging. And typically, it doesn't take too much time to start it. But while it's working on that, I think that this app really emphasized the widgets. They can be used and expanded, and how there's little loopholes that you can use to get around some of the constraints of Dart and Flutter that way. And I'll be sure to show that in the code review after this. Not sure why my app isn't starting right away. Should be there. Gonna refresh it to see if it works. But this was about, I think, 2 hours, or maybe a little bit less, of the entire Udemy section, which was about, I think the entire Udemy section is supposed to be 3 hours and 48 minutes of at least lecture, not including the debugging time on your own or just working on the code itself. But we'll run it again. I am seeing a debug console that's not being shown, but it is resolving dependencies and downloading packages. And the emulator is working and on, so I assume that'll be up and running soon. Getting one check mark. Here we are. Again, this is the expense tracker. So you can add different categories if you'd like, and you can add different expenses. And there's a couple preset ones that we hard coded in with the use of the Udemy course. But for right now, we have a quote unquote Flutter course for work, which is the little icon here, $19.99. And we just put any date at this point. It was just the current date that I made this, but now it's set for now. So it's taking the current date. And we have cinema, which is leisure, but it has this icon here. I'll show how to get the icons after this. But a very simple looking app right now. But you can get this plus sign, and then you could type in your own title for your new expense. which we could just call gaming, and then amount, which I guess I don't know how much a game might be, but we'll put it at $60. You can choose the different categories: food, travel, leisure, work. We're going to leave it as leisure, which is the default for right now. And then we can select a date. So for this, it's a little delayed, but we can select a new date. And then it pops up right here. We save the expense. And now, if we click out of this, we can now see our gaming expense. That's leisure. And I believe we might be able to get rid of them or maybe edit them in the following videos that come after lecture 120. For now, this is what we have of the app so far. So if we would look at the code, just going to close the terminal for now. It's the code we had several files to work with, but what was emphasized was managing all these files and putting little subfolders in lib, which all of our code lives in for now. So we have models, which is our expense start, which has our categories here. And for, well, the icon categories are here, sorry. And then these are the categories that we established so far. We had to add a new import for this project by NTL. And then we also need these two for the date formatting and just some of the specifics of this app. But for expense, we have our required fields that we need, and then these which help our app run. So, which is basically just we pass in these and we have the final so it doesn't get changed. And that's for models, but widgets, we have more. So general widgets, we have expenses, not expense. That was a little bit of the naming convention was a little confusing, but we have expenses, which has our hard-coded in expenses that you see when I first opened the app. That's what was already in there. And then we can add an expense. We have, this was at the top, where it just said Flutter expense tracker for the name of the app. And then our other general widget is a new expense. So this class extends a stateful widget. So we need two different constructors. So we have our present date picker, which as you can see, and as you saw in the demo, it did have now as in September 26th on the events or the expenses. And then this narrows down how much time you can take or what date you can choose. And then he made a point of saying that this show date picker is a future object. So it'll basically remember what this is, but in this case, it's technically when you choose it, it's going to be a future event. And then we have submit expense. So if you're typing, I believe, let me go back to that quick. If you try adding something, Java, but you don't have like an amount or something, it'll pop up a little invalid input. It encourages you to enter in a valid title, amount, and then a date as well. Back to the code. So that's what we see right here is the invalid input. And then the message. And then just the text button to get out of that little message is okay. And then our little widgets inside expenses list. We have what makes our expense items pop up, what makes them up. We added new formatting and tools that we didn't use in previous lectures. And then we also have expenses list, which helps with displaying all the expenses that we do add and that we do have in the list. And then main just runs that, basically. And then it uses this theme, which I'm not sure. He mentioned using a different theme, but this is the one that we use for most of the beginning tutorials, at least. Okay. That's it for this one. Thank you.